We're talking about the DRC, and we saw a spike in violence in the later months of 2023 as the country anticipated national elections in December. There are clashes over territory and natural resources, killings by security forces, political violence, and rising tensions with neighboring Rwanda. The internally displaced now has a record number of 6.9 million people as the fighting renders it unsafe for civilians. There's been 6 million deaths since 1996, and we haven't seen any long lasting ceasefires. I'd like to welcome to the show Marie-Claire Shizali, Youth Coordinator at Africa Unite and a member of the Stop Congo Genocide and Holocaust March to Parliament Organising Committee. Good morning, Marie-Claire, and welcome to the studio.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Marie-Claire, tell us a little bit about the organizations that you're a part of and what the aim of the organizations are and the hope of what you're trying to achieve.
So Africa Unite is a human rights organization based in Cape Town, but we also have branches in KZN and Joburg as well. So what we do is that we try to educate the community about the human rights. So we go into our marginalized community and educate, because you've noticed that a lot of people are being violated, but they don't know how to stand up for their rights, or they don't even know what rights apply to them. So as Africa Unite, we work with a diverse group. So we work with locals, we also work with migrants, asylum seekers, and refugees, educating them about their rights, because you've noticed that there's an influx of migrants, asylum seekers, refugees coming into South Africa, and most of the time they don't even know the laws that apply to them or how to even stand up for their rights. So what we do, we have about 4 programs under Africa Unite. So one is the Human Rights Program, where we educate young people on their human rights. So they go through a 5 days of human rights school, and from there we branch out to the other programs, which is School Club, where we work in schools, and we have Simba Makalipa, which is children at risk, and we have the Movement Building Project, which I help facilitate, which the Mars Youth Empowerment. So that's just what we do as Africa Unite in a nutshell.
Perfect. And you mentioned that people coming in, especially refugees, become part of this program. How do they find you, or how do you find them?
We are on social media, and you can find us on the internet at Africa Unite. Our Instagram is official_Africa Unite. We are also on Twitter and Facebook, which is just Africa Unite.
You mentioned about teaching people about human rights. This is something many of us take for granted being born here. We've learned our human rights over the last few years, and we're very vocal about our human rights and standing up for that. Why did you find, how difficult has it been to coordinate or to even teach people what basic human rights are or what they're entitled to? Because for so many years, they haven't been able to realize any of that.
So on that regard, so the group that I usually work with is the migrant asylum seekers refugee youth from the ages of 15 to 25. We've noticed that a lot of us, even though we came into the country at a young age or we grew up in South Africa, we've noticed that these policies and rules put in place, but they sort of do not apply to the migrant asylum seekers and refugee community. And we've noticed that the reason for that is because we're not aware of our rights. We don't know what things apply to us when it comes to tertiary education, when it comes to documentation. We don't even know the documentations that we have. So that's what we as Africa Unite do. We go into our communities and teach these young people and the parents as well, because most of the time, when the parents are not aware of their documentation status or the rules that apply to them, they end up being violated. Some people get deported, but they don't even know the right procedures to go or what to do in case of them being deported or when they are arrested unlawfully.
So it's more than just teaching human rights. It also provides a support group and a network to be able to take care of those around you.
Yes, definitely.
Tell me a little bit more about the Stop Congo Genocide and Holocaust March to Parliament that was planned.
Well, the Stop Congo Genocide March that was planned is Noella Isaac saw the initiative, because you've noticed that there's a march happening in the UK and all around the world. People are raising awareness, and we've noticed that mainstream media specifically has never actually spoke about what is happening in Congo. Reason being, we don't know why. Even here in South Africa, you haven't seen much news of, okay, this is what is currently happening in Congo. So we, the youth of Cape Town, decided to take initiative and say that no, what is happening in Congo is not only affecting Congo alone, but it affects the whole of Africa, because there are Congolese people everywhere. And it's our brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, cousins that are dying almost every single day because of greediness and so forth. So we, the youth, we decided to come together and actually speak and actually raise awareness and let South Africa know that this is how we are feeling. Can you stand in solidarity with us? Yes, they've sent armies to Congo and so forth, but what have we heard on the news? That armies were sent to Congo, but for what reasons? So why are they kind of gaslighting and hiding what is currently happening in Congo? Because it's not only affecting Congo, it affects the whole world as a whole. So we decided, let's stand up and actually take this initiative, gather people, and raise our voice as young people.
And I think it's quite remarkable because, as you rightly said, we haven't heard enough. We actually have had so little, and we hear bits and pieces of information. And the truth of it is, this is happening right here on the African continent. And when we read the statistics that are coming out of the number of people that have been killed, the number of people that have been displaced, the quality of life of civilians in the country at the moment, it is catastrophic, and we have to know exactly what is going on, how we can assist so that we're able to help first here on our continent before anything else. So
Definitely.
I want, as a youth group that you've put this together, I mean, I take my hat off to all of you that you've actually found the time and found the inclination to feel for people on the African continent and to do for them. Because I was saying yesterday as well, we get to change and control the narrative, because we can talk all the time about the fact that the Western media or the media has paid absolutely no attention. And coming up in our interview with the minister, you'll also hear about us talking about the fact that, human rights seems to be for very select groups of people. And what you are doing is actually giving human rights back and putting it back onto the place where it belongs for every single person. I think the one thing we've got in our hands is that we're able to change the narrative with social media. How are you planning on actually creating more of a mass interest and a buy-in to what is actually happening and the catastrophes of what we're seeing, not just what happens or the support networks when they get here, but for what is they're currently going through in their countries? How are you trying to get a buy-in, a mass buy-in from people around you?
So, firstly, it's about educating the people of what is currently happening in Congo. Because the issues that we've had lately is that when we tell people that join this Congo genocide, they're like, what is currently happening in Congo? So,
Mm.
firstly, if we can educate people on understanding what is currently happening in Congo and how it's affecting the whole world, because we're all benefiting from it. The phones that we use, the minerals are actually coming from Congo. So, if we can educate people of the impact and how it's impacting the life of so many people, we can take it from there, because people always ask, what is currently happening? How can we help? So the first step is education, educating the people that this is currently happening and this is what you can do to help support.
We talk about, you mentioned now about the natural resources and the looting of natural resources. We've seen it across the African continent, but there's always a quiet about it and a silence because it feeds and builds into so many other people around the world. So there is a complicit quietness that we don't need to pay too much attention to what is happening across Africa. But it's not just in Congo, we're seeing it throughout many other countries in Africa. And tell me, in terms of all of you with the youth that are taking this initiative on, you're saying you have to tell people what is happening in Congo. I'm not even remotely surprised, because I think this conversation will also come as a surprise to many viewers, saying we didn't even know that there was a genocide happening right here on our doorstep with the numbers that we're currently seeing. Post the elections in December, what has been the current climate in the DRC?
Can you please rephrase, sorry about that?
No problem. I know that there was an escalation of violence before December started, with many people in the DRC being affected. Are you working with people directly in DRC, or are you working only with people who are coming out into South Africa?
So initially, we are also reaching out. We're also working with the York Africa, which is based in Goma. So because most of the news we don't get it. So if you
Yes.
have people already in Congo, they're able to give us all the information and tell us exactly what is happening, because we don't see it in mainstream media. So we actually have to get our information straight from Congo. Even the video circulating where the M23 are actually slitting people's throats, that is what we're getting from Congo and not mainstream media.
Thank you so much, Marie-Claire, for sharing your information and sharing your initiatives with us. We wish you everything of the best. We know that this is not an easy task that you're taking on, to champion the rights of other Africans and to champion the rights of other individuals and human beings, to be able to bring to the forefront the genocide and Holocaust that is happening right in front of us, right on our continent. And we thank you for that. We will be staying tuned to your pages to see the news more often. And let's help you change that narrative, because we all have the ability to make the news, our news, the real news from the African continent. Marie-Claire Shazali, thank you so much for joining us here at Salam Media.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be taking a very quick ad break and then we'll be coming back.